Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. Another great episode. In this episode, we finally get to find out what the hell's whole plan is. Hell and hell, that's kind of fun. They literally had a joke like that in this episode, because like, they just like, hell, she's Hydra. Hell Hydra. She's like, really? Come on. It's like, even I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh my God, really? It's like, that's super good. Because I like that they making fun of it too. It's like, they had to have added that in there just to be a joke, like naming her Hell and everything. But nevertheless, that's beside the point. We find out more about her past and everything. We go kind of far back into the past, 28 years in particular. And it still messes with me. I'm like, right, damn, ugh. Hydra Academy. It's like, that's so weird. To be fair, S.h.i.e.L.D. is literally kind of like the opposite of Hydra. I mean, they literally are like the yin to yang of each other. And it's like, right, S.h.i.e.L.D. has like an academy. Like, it's just weird to think, because I just think every Hydra agent just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm here and I'm evil. Like, it's just weird to think about. They're grown and bred to be evil. It's just kind of weird to think about that. But it turns out Hale was like at the top of her class and everything. She was trying to reach for a specific like position and stuff like that. Essentially find out that Whitehall was working on a machine basically to recreate, this super soldier program. Like I was blanking on it. Basically a program that made Steve Rogers Captain America, made him like all-star superhuman, trying to basically do that, but make the person even more powerful. And that person is supposed to be the next leader of Hydra. And it turns out Hale was chosen not to be the next leader, but to give birth to the next leader. We find out that Ruby is being, which I guess because I thought Ruby was something else already. It's like, no, Ruby's just severely well trained. It's like, that's scary that you're like that without any powers in it. I thought maybe she had some like skills or there was something more to it. It's like, no, she's just very, very well trained, because it makes sense, because it was like she was meant to be like the next leader of Hydra, that she's supposed to go into that machine that like Whitehall's trying to work on and end up making her into like the next superhuman being. But the sad thing about it is that situation wasn't necessarily Hill's decision, which kind of sucks. Because basically she wanted to be important and part of the fight. But it's like, oh, you'll be inseminated. And it's like, oh, think about it. You'll be giving birth to the seed that will eventually kind of like lead this world into a new age, which Hill kind of wants to go down a different route. But it's like, Whitehall's like, oh, you do have a choice. But she's like, okay, I'll do it, Hill Hydra. And it's like, I can only assume that means like, oh yeah, if you don't do this, we will kill you, or we'll find some other like some demeaning thing position. I figure it has to be like the first one. It's like, oh, you have a choice. It's like, Hydra doesn't give choices. What are you talking about? Don't lie to her. But nevertheless, we didn't skip forward. Basically, isn't that around, I guess, like when you have Talbot busting in, I can only assume that's like, isn't that around like season 4? Because that's when they finish off Hydra for good, right? Yeah. Because which is kind of weird to think about. Because they bring it up in this episode. It's like, really, are we ever going to be done with Hydra? And it's so funny. It's like, it makes you wonder, did they have this storyline planned out even last season? Because they went out of their way to kind of introduce the whole Hydra back into the plot. Like, obviously it was all in a framework, but still, it was like, they had been doing that because they were setting up this whole Hydra storyline. I guess it also fits with what they're doing with Fitz. Fitz and Fitz. Another unintentional thing. Maybe that's why they were doing what they're doing. Maybe I don't know. It's just, it makes you always wonder like how much they have planned ahead of time before like they go into another season. But nevertheless, that's beside. It's kind of to the point, but also beside it. We ended up finding out more about this Confederacy. It seems that they're not humans. They're not like some like high-ranking Hydra people. Apparently, they're aliens. Basically, Hydra got in contact with them, and it's like there was basically a deal made. And so Hale was trying to upkeep that end of the deal, because apparently they're willing to protect Earth from an incoming danger. And they ended up showing Coulson in this episode. I know I'm skipping around, but it's like, showed it to him, and there's a warship. So immediately my brain goes, once again, something I didn't even think about because I'm an idiot, and I brought it up recently. It's like, well, let's not forget Infinity War is literally right around the corner, which at the same time I'm wondering, like, how does this all fit together with Infinity War happening? Or is that like a different thing altogether? I mean, to be fair, we don't know like the big impact of Infinity War yet. Like, it seems like it's going to be pretty big. Like, some of the stuff that goes out. I mean, we saw a little destruction in what I can, in New York, but we don't know if it like gets like catastrophic. It might just be like that ring thing that, which is, believed to be kind of like a teleporter for Thanos. It's like, that might be the only thing that comes there, because every other place it's like, well, it's Wakanda, and Wakanda's kind of isolated. Not many people know about like the truth of Wakanda. So, maybe, well, it seems like they're fighting outside of the city. It seemed like it was some fields, plus like on potential on another planet is where some of it takes place. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's still possible for all this stuff to happen with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because like I said, just it's so interesting, because it's like when you actually think about it, it's like you would think the whole Earth cracker. I was like, oh yeah, like why didn't I think that that might be Thanos? But it seems like it might not be because of what kind of gets set up in this episode. But obviously, I'll kind of get to that soon enough. So that was kind of interesting. But I love Coulson. I love you so much, Coulson. He's the only one that didn't take the bait, the whole Ruby bait. She's like, oh, you're pretending to miss me. He's like, oh, I see what you're trying to do. He's like, I give it a C. Oh, wow, you got this C? Okay, C plus. Yo, tell like hell, like when she's done playing, I'll be in my room. It's like, yo, Coulson, you're the best. I love it. Because I love that he's so cool and suave. He's such a cool guy. Even though he's like kind of a nerdy, dorky dude, he's so cool. I love it. Because even Talbot kind of fell for it. Like every time, like this is our third time seeing that. I mean, obviously it's probably happened to other people that were kind of brought into this, but it's because of, this was like the third time, but Coulson didn't fall for it. But we did find out more about Talbot. He ended up surviving. Like he actually got better like 6 months ago, which is roughly around the time like the team got sent to the future, as well as it was roughly, it had to be around the time Fitz was trying to find his way to the future with them. So, and basically they wanted his help too, but he was like, no. Which is super sad, because basically of his condition, he has impulse control issues, just because there will always be permanent damage to his brain because of that. Even Talbot wasn't stupid. He's like, no, I know it's an LMD. Even Hell knows it's an LMD. She even admitted herself, but she was kind of like basically still using that as something to kind of be used against them, because ultimately that thing came about because of S.H.I.E.L.D. anyway, so it's still their fault. But for her, it's like, no, we don't need symbols. Hydra, S.H.I.E.L.D., it doesn't matter anymore. What we need to do is face this greater threat that's coming. And she wants Coulson's help because she doesn't want to work with the Confederacy, because she's like, no, like she knows that ultimately that's a power. They're just going to be a problem all on their own. Yeah, they may help us now, but who's to say they'll keep up their end of the bargain, especially because they want gravitonium and they want Inhumans, which let's not forget, that's kind of what the whole Creed thing is. I mean, these people, they might be setting up a whole deal with the Creed, because this might be like them eventually setting up with, I mean, we don't know, like, because I remember, because I guess in my head I was thinking like, oh, the Kree were the ones that they made a deal with and everything. But then it's like, I don't really actually know what a Kree's lifespan is like. So, because I guess in my head I was thinking like, oh, Cassius is the one even way back then. But it's like, no, like, it seems like it's probably much later on. Like I said, because now it kind of puts everything in a different perspective, because it's like, because I thought like the Kree were the one that approached humanity first. It's like, no, it's the Confederates, whatever group of aliens they are. They must have had dealings with the Kree and eventually sold off the last of humanity that they had enslaved and stuff like that, and passed it on to the Kree for bargaining chips and stuff like that, or, money. That might be what that happened. Because it's just, because I'm thinking about that now, because I didn't think about it then. It's like, oh yeah, like, Cassius can't be like that old, because he'd have to be like 75 years. Once again, I don't know. Maybe he is, because I don't know a Kree's lifespan. But nevertheless, so Coulson was kind of like, oh yeah, we could work together on this. But then Coulson found out that the project that Hell is putting together, like this whole project that Whitehall started, it's called Project Destroyer Worlds, and it hits Coulson. It's like, no, because initially it was Ruby who was supposed to be set up to be put in the machine, to fuse with the gravitonium and be super powerful to fight back any forces that are coming. But it's like, nope, she wants Daisy, because she feels like Ruby's still not tempered enough to do it. Also, interestingly enough, turns out her and Ruby are kind of like the last heads of Hydra, because she ended up killing the last dude, because it's like, he's kind of so stuck in his own ways, which Ruby was kind of getting on him about, like, no, you're so stuck in your own head about how to handle like Hydra. It's like, no, like you're just too afraid to kind of make change. That whole situation. But then Coulson tries to warn her. Obviously, Hill doesn't believe, which she really should, but because she's thinking Coulson's just kind of like being an idiot, she's like, oh, fine, never. Which begs the question, what is she planning on doing? I mean, it seems like she's planning on trying to make Coulson Coulson to make Daisy do all this. I mean, interesting enough, she still doesn't know. I mean, it comes up in the episode because Ruby points her weapon at Coulson, which Coulson knows he's going to die anyway, which kind of plays a role in something else too, but I'll kind of get to that soon enough. I'm all over the place. I do apologize. But then that does, but like, he's trying to tell her not to do this because you putting Daisy in that machine ends up being what breaks the earth potentially. So now it puts it even more in perspective, like, holy crap, so it probably was Daisy unintentionally. Maybe it's just because the power was too much for her to handle. And, no matter how tempered you are, like, it's just going to cause more problems, which is interesting too, because Ruby kind of goes, oh, she's like, oh, so you went to the future. So how did I screw up? Actually, it wasn't you. It was, oh, and she goes, it was Daisy, huh? And he's like, so where is she? And he's like, you can't beat her. And I'm like, is that what this has all been about? Like, you wanted to meet Daisy and stuff like that? Is you proving yourself? That's what her obsession with Daisy, because in her mind, it's like Daisy is the biggest, like, hill to overcome, because not only is she like a powerful inhuman, she's got one of like the top people at S.h.i.e.L.D. and it's like if she can take down their biggest and best champion, then it kind of solidifies her position in Hydra, even though there is really no Hydra anymore. It just makes her go like, oh yeah, I'm worthy. It's kind of a challenge, or it's to prove herself. So that's what this is all about. It's interesting. Also, we kind of got to see a side of Hell, kind of seeing her kind of being a compassionate mom. It's not that she was kind of like always a dick, like it's just because so much rides on Ruby is kind of why it seems like she's a little dickish, but it's like, no, she actually loves her daughter, so especially that moment when they're having that conversation, it's just like, oh, so they haven't decided what position you should be in, talking to Ruby about her future in Hydra. It's just like, oh, maybe I can go into the Air Force like you. I mean, it's like kind of talking about her mom being kind of dull and boring, and kind of laughing and joking. It's like, wow, that's weird to see that side of you guys like that. Don't seem like you have that type of relationship. Apparently seems like you kind of do, but nevertheless. So I'm assuming that's going to come up soon. Like, Ruby is going to fight Daisy and most likely get beaten down. So I don't know, man, because I think she is outclassed. Like, not even just counting in Daisy's abilities. Like, Daisy's just a good freaking fighter. I think even without her powers, I mean, it's hard to say, man. I mean, because it's something to kind of bring up too. Even May's not back at 100% too, so that wouldn't be fair to kind of make the comparison of like, oh, she could beat me. Now it's like, well, May's not at 100%. May was. I doubt even Daisy would be a beater. I don't know. It's hard to say. But Daisy is a very skilled fighter. Plus her ability, she like I think. I could have sworn they've made that argument in the past. I think I talked about this in Humans, but isn't she like? I know like. Black Bolt is kind of considered one of the most powerful Inhumans because of his abilities, but I think Daisy's like right up there too, isn't she? I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I could have sworn that was kind of like a thing of like her being considered one of the most powerful Inhumans, at least that they're aware of and everything. So, but nevertheless. So that becomes a conversation all on its own. And then we get over to the whole situation with S.h.i.e.L.D. Now, it's kind of interesting. I'm going to break down some interesting things. I brought it up, the whole aspect of like, well, Coulson's got his own finger, it's like, oh, I'm going to die anyway. It's kind of interesting because the whole aspect of like, oh yeah, everything's kind of set in stone has existed. It is existing in 3 different storylines. You have Coulson's with the whole situation of him dying. You have Yo-Yo feeling like that because it's like, oh yeah, like, because she already met herself in the future. This was brought up like, what was it, like last episode, that she's not worried about dying because she's like, oh, I know I exist in the future, so I don't have to worry about it, thinking she's invincible till then, just because she has that mindset of like, well, the future most likely can't be changed and stuff like that, which, okay, you can go ahead and believe that, which also gets Simmons thinking like, oh, we're invincible. No matter what, everything's going to be fine between you and me because Deacon exists. And I love Fitz's, really? He's we have a Deacon? It's like our daughter goes off and marries some like goon and has a Deacon, and she's kind of like so disgusted to find out that, but for her it's like, oh, we're invincible. So it's that situation of like similar thoughts of like everything's kind of set in stone and there's no changing it, and I find that so fascinating that it just kind of exists in those 3 different worlds like that. Obviously 2 are kind of similar but kind of different, Obviously, Mac is worried because of that mentality, and I'm like, that's kind of the same thing too. Like, I mean, it's scary because it's like you guys think that you're trying to change the future, but you also trying to hold on to these aspects of that future that you're trying to change kind of makes it. Because that's the thing. Like, once you start changing things, who knows how the dominoes might fall? I mean, they'll know that something's not right the moment Deacon stops existing, because that's, probably gonna have like a Back to the Future moment like that. But still, I don't know. It's just something interesting to think about. And I just think that the moment things start spiraling out of control, it'll kind of put things in a different perspective for them. But we'll have to wait and see about that. And then also there's a conversation about VIDS, which I love that. Obviously May she's like, I understand, she did a lot of things she's sorry for in the framework, but Fitz is like, once again, I'm not sorry. I did what I needed to do. Daisy's super pissed, like, no, we can't trust you. Fitz threw out something that was kind of like, ooh, when he was like, really? You want to talk about not trusting me? How about all the let's count up the number of times that you've betrayed this team. And it's like, ooh, and it's like Daisy didn't have a remark. It's like, ooh, that's brutal. Because it turns into that situation of you understand why Fitz did. Yes, he went about it a very, very shitty way, but at the same time, it's like he brings up a lot of good points. If he had told Daisy what he wanted to do, like that Daisy would be their only hope, would she have allowed it? No, because she's so paranoid about becoming the weapon that will be the destruction of the world, that will literally rip the world in half, which obviously seems like is coming more and more true, which ultimately, could all be pulled back to like everything that happens. Because that's also, I'm sure there's something else Daisy looks at too. It's like, if anything happens, it's all your fault, Fitz, because you gave me my powers back. Because basically, it's like you're making me responsible for whatever happens with me, and that ultimately cracks the earth. And so, like I said, it's just a shitty way he went about it. But it's like, I don't know. You understand why he did it. That's the ultimate thing. And I think no matter what the situation is, I think May can understand. She's probably not outright saying it, but she understands where it came from. She doesn't agree with what he did. She knows why he did it, but she doesn't agree with it. I mean, once again, that's still kind of an underlying issue, because it's still kind of like because that also means, like, who's to say, like, Fitz doesn't completely snap and go down the dark road anyway? Because it could, I mean, for one, all with the, like, history and stuff like that, your daughter could have been lying to Deacon. Like, you could have been a right asshole, like, most of her life, but just to kind of, compensate, I mean, I wouldn't know why she would lie about that, but just to make things better, maybe she rewrote history in her own head to make it seem like Fitz was a good guy when he actually became a bad guy. Maybe that's something we'll see in this. That might be actual a thing, rather than him being the good father he's supposed to be, because he knows about the future and everything. Now to knowing about Deacon and everything, maybe, and Simmons not being so concerned about trying to make sure that he stays on the right path, she kind of lets a lot of his behavior go, because it's like, no, we'll be fine anyway. It'll be fine. And he ends up kind of going down the doctor path like he did in, the framework. We might see something like that. I don't know. But then there's also an interesting thing where you have, like, at the end, Daisy is going to get Robin. And it's like, really? It's like, well, yeah, we need her help to figure this all out. Trying to figure out Hell's plan and everything, which is interesting on a level all I thought was kind of fascinating. Is the fact is that the fact of the matter is, you had the whole situation with Yo-Yo saying, like, when they tried to save Coulson is when everything fell apart. Now, we've been interpreting it as this whole, like, decaying and dying situation, but then I'm like thinking, what if this counts as actually technically counting as them saving Coulson when they find out that from Robin, and they're like, oh, we got to go rescue Coulson? What if this is what they meant, not necessarily just trying to save his life, but in this instance trying to rescue him from Hydra, where everything fell apart? Because that will ultimately lead to Daisy getting into Hell's hand, turning her into the ultimate weapon, which does beg the question, when it's all said and done, what happens to the Confederacy? Well, like I said, we do know that potentially, and my thought process is that they sell them off to the Kree, but like I said, we will have to wait and see. These are some very interesting developments. I'm very interested to see how it all plays out going forward. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good